At 5:52 in the morning, every lake on the planet stopped being water. Not gradually, not in patches spreading outward over hours. In one single silent instant, every lake on Earth, from the smallest farm pond to the deepest ancient basin, froze into solid, transparent glass, trapping fish mid-swim, locking small boats into frozen ripples that would never move again, and turning entire shorelines into mirrors reflecting a sunrise that suddenly had nowhere to go. I was standing at the edge of Lake Kessler, a small, unremarkable lake near the town where I'd lived my entire life, close enough to watch the water directly in front of me, harden beneath the toe of my shoe, the transformation racing outward across the surface, faster than my eyes could track it. The last thing I heard before the silence swallowed everything was the impossible sound of an entire lake turning to stone in under 3 seconds. My name is Sora, and until 7 days ago, I was nobody in particular, a 19-year-old who worked weekends at a small tackle shop near the lake. The kind of person whose biggest daily decision was whether the fish were biting near the dock or further out past the reeds. Now, every lake on Earth has been transformed into solid glass, and for reasons absolutely nobody has been able to explain, I appear to be the only person standing at the exact epicenter of the very first lake it happened to. When I looked down at my own reflection in the newly hardened glass beneath my feet that morning, I noticed something that made my stomach drop violently. My reflection wasn't quite matching my movements. It lagged behind by a fraction of a second, like a video buffering just slightly out of sync, correcting itself only when I stood completely still. The first 24 hours were, without exaggeration, complete and total global chaos. News helicopters and drones descended on lakes across every continent within hours, capturing footage that immediately went viral worldwide. Canoes and fishing boats frozen mid-tip on glassy ripples that would never break again. Entire schools of fish suspended beneath the surface like specimens preserved in a museum display. Docks and piers extending out over solid glass instead of water, their support beams now resting on something that could theoretically hold far more weight than it ever had to before. Limnologists, geologists, and physicists appeared on every major network within the first few hours, offering explanations that all collapsed into the same shaky, unsatisfying conclusion. Liquid water does not spontaneously restructure its own molecular bonds into a rigid, glass-like solid without an external force capable of altering matter at an atomic level, and no instrument on the planet had detected any such force at the moment of transformation. By midday, the story had spread far beyond scientific circles, and this is where the scale of what happened really became clear, because it wasn't just my small lake. In Switzerland, Lake Geneva's famous fountain stopped mid-spray, the water frozen in a perfect, glittering arc, suspended above a lake that had gone completely solid beneath it. Tourists standing frozen themselves in shock, filming something that shouldn't have been physically possible. In Africa, Lake Victoria, one of the largest freshwater lakes on the planet, transformed across its entire surface simultaneously, stranding fishing communities who depend on it for their daily livelihoods. Their boats now sitting uselessly on top of glass, instead of floating on water they'd fished for generations. In Russia, Lake Baikal, the deepest lake in the world, holding nearly a fifth of all the planet's unfrozen fresh water, hardened from shore to shore in the same instant, and satellite imagery released later that day showed something researchers couldn't initially explain. Faint light was visible, deep beneath Baikal's newly transparent glass surface, pulsing gently in a pattern nobody could yet identify. In North America, the Great Lakes transformed together, all 5 at once, disrupting shipping routes overnight and stranding massive cargo vessels mid-lake, their hulls resting against glass instead of water for the first time in their operational history. By the end of that first day, news outlets around the world had settled on a single shared name for what was happening: the glass waters. I didn't go home that first night. I stood at the edge of Lake Kessler for hours, watching my own faintly lagging reflection, until I noticed something nobody else in town seemed to have picked up on yet. A single point roughly at the center of the lake, previously the deepest section according to old fishing maps, was glowing faintly beneath the glass surface, a soft blue-white light pulsing on a rhythm that unsettlingly matched my own heartbeat when I pressed 2 fingers against my wrist to check. I told myself it was exhaustion playing tricks on my eyes. I stayed and watched it anyway, unable to look away, until the sky began to lighten with the second sunrise since this all started. By the third morning, whatever quiet, personal mystery I'd been allowed to have completely ended. A convoy of unmarked vehicles rolled into town just after dawn, and personnel in full protective gear moved through the streets with a calm, practiced efficiency that felt far more unsettling than outright panic would have. They didn't search house to house. They came directly to the tackle shop where I worked, then to my home, and informed me, without much explanation beyond a single sentence, that I needed to come with them immediately. When I asked why, one of them simply held up a tablet showing a live satellite feed of Lake Kessler, that same pulsing light at its center clearly visible from orbit, and said, "It's the only lake still doing that, and it's been doing it since the moment you got there." I was taken to a research facility built into a converted hydroelectric dam facility a few hours from town, its lower levels retrofitted with monitoring equipment that looks strange against the dam's much older industrial architecture. There, inside a control room overlooking the dam's original turbine hall, now filled with humming servers and rows of environmental sensors, I met Dr. Amara Voss, the hydrogeologist leading what officials had quietly started calling Project Undertow. When I demanded to know why I'd been brought here specifically, out of billions of people who'd witnessed the exact same global event, she didn't offer comfort. She pulled up a massive global map instead, showing every major lake on Earth marked with a small glowing dot, all connected by a dense, chaotic web of thin lines, linking one lake to another across entire continents. Every lake in this transformation is now connected to at least one other lake through some kind of measurable subterranean signal, she explained, her voice carefully controlled. Except Kessler. Your lake isn't connected to this network at all. It's isolated. And it's the only lake on this entire map that's been emitting a consistent, structured pulse since the very first morning. She zoomed the map in tighter, isolating Lake Kessler, glowing a distinctly different color from every other point on the chart, sitting completely alone in its own separate data cluster. Every other lake in this event appears to be part of some larger coordinated system. Yours isn't part of that system. Based on everything we've recorded, we believe it's the origin point, and it's been trying to reach something, or someone, specifically located at your exact position, every single day since this began. That sentence settled into my chest like a stone dropped into still water. I wasn't simply a bystander who happened to witness the first domino falling in a global chain reaction. Whatever had reshaped every lake on the planet had apparently started precisely where I'd been standing, and it clearly wasn't finished with whatever process it had begun there. Over the following days, researchers ran continuous seismic and thermal scans on Lake Kessler specifically, treating it differently from every other transformed lake on Earth. They kept me confined to a windowless section of the facility, several floors underground, deliberately chosen because it offered no direct view of any body of water at all. It made no measurable difference whatsoever. Sensors embedded throughout the facility still registered faint, localized fluctuations in humidity and temperature, directly around wherever I happened to be sitting at any given moment. Readings that matched, with unsettling precision, the exact pulse pattern still radiating from the center of Kessler, dozens of miles away. Meanwhile, Dr. Voss kept me updated on something happening globally that the public hadn't been told yet. Reports were arriving from research stations near several of the world's most significant lakes, describing that same faint underwater glow first spotted at Baikal, now appearing beneath the glass surface of other major lakes too. Lake Victoria, Lake Superior, even smaller significant lakes like Crater Lake in Oregon, each showing the exact same slow, rhythmic pulse, though considerably dimmer and less structured than the pulse still radiating from Kessler. It was as though every other transformed lake on Earth was a faint echo of whatever had originated at my own small, previously unremarkable lake back home. On the sixth night, Dr. Voss brought me back to town herself, escorted by armed personnel, specifically to observe Lake Kessler directly for the first time since I'd been taken. The pulsing light at its center had grown noticeably brighter and larger over the preceding days, bright enough now that its glow was visible reflecting off the low clouds hanging over the town, casting a faint, otherworldly blue tint across the entire main street. "We've detected something in the last several hours that changes everything we thought we understood about this event," she said, her hand trembling slightly as she reviewed data on a tablet. "The pulse from your lake isn't just radiating outward anymore. It's begun actively synchronizing with every other lake on the planet, in real time, adjusting its rhythm to match theirs, almost like an orchestra conductor bringing every other instrument gradually into time with a single central beat. And the closer that synchronization gets to completion, the faster the pulse at the center of your lake has been accelerating." Before I could fully process what that synchronization might actually mean on a global scale, the glass surface of Lake Kessler let out a deep, resonant groan, a sound unlike anything I'd heard even during the original transformation, and a single hairline fracture began racing outward from the glowing center point toward the shore where we stood. Through the widening crack, a soft, pulsing blue light became clearly visible just beneath the surface, close enough now that I could feel a faint warmth radiating up from the glass itself despite the cold night air. "It's not trying to destroy anything," Dr. Voss said, her earlier composure finally beginning to crack. "Based on everything we've measured over the past week, we believe every lake on Earth turning to glass was never the actual event. It was a containment measure, a barrier, buying time for whatever's down there to reach the surface safely, slowly, without simply flooding out and losing whatever it actually is in the process. And it appears to have chosen this lake, and specifically you, as the exact point where that containment finally breaks." Sirens began sounding through the small research outpost that had been hastily set up along the shoreline, and personnel scrambled toward emergency positions, though it was clear from their faces that nobody actually knew what emergency protocol applied to a situation like this one. I looked back at the widening crack in the glass, at the pulsing light rising steadily closer to the surface with every passing second, and felt the exact same faint vibration in my own chest that I'd first noticed on the very first morning, now considerably stronger, considerably harder to ignore, perfectly synchronized with the light rising from beneath the lake I'd fished beside, my entire life without ever once suspecting what might be resting at its bottom. Dr. Voss grabbed my arm, her voice dropping to something quieter, almost reverent. "Sora, whatever's about to surface, I don't think it sees you as a bystander in any of this. I think it's been waiting specifically for you, this exact spot, this exact night, for a very long time before any of us ever knew this lake existed." The crack reached the shoreline directly beneath where I stood, and for the first time since this entire impossible week began, I understood, somewhere beneath the fear, that whatever emerged from that lake in the next few minutes wasn't something anyone else in this town, or honestly anyone else on the planet, was going to have much say in stopping. Thank you for watching Anime Echo Tales. If you want to find out what's rising from beneath Lake Kessler, and why every other lake on Earth has been quietly synchronizing itself to match it, smash that subscribe button and drop a comment below. Is it protecting the world, warning it, or something else entirely that's been waiting far longer than 7 days? The next chapter of this story is coming very soon. Stay grounded, because something ancient just found its way to the surface.